Welcome to the Pair of Dings podcast, episode number 73.
73. We're here. I'm here.
We're almost to 100.
How many more weeks is that?
I don't know.
Math.
I'm not good at math,
Me
but
either.
I know it's less than 30.
Cool. Well, actually, I want to start by saying that one episode, I guess that last episode, released you did yourself, and I really enjoyed it. And I was very engaged. Like, I listen to every episode that we put out, but sometimes you don't really hear everything. And I was really engaged that whole time that you um, shared your story, and I'm waiting for a follow up. I'm pretty sure other people might be too,
Maybe.
because yeah, it was interesting. So at least give us like a proper ending to something, because I want to know more. Even though I know almost all of that stuff already, your your the way that you write and the way that you read that was just, it was cool. I liked it.
Well, thank you. I had good fun putting it together, even though I messed up a lot and had to re-record
Yeah, but
pieces. Like,
we
you
didn't
won't hear
know
that.
that. Yeah,
But
I had no idea. It sounded really smooth.
amazing. I'm curious, too, if you learned anything new from that.
Well, I can't remember what you talked about now.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, no, I'm sure there were a couple things that I can repeat that I didn't know in depth, I guess.
Mm,
But the way that you had read it was like a story, and I love listening to stories. And so yeah, it was cool.
awesome. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and on the dark side, there's no ending to that story until I'm dead. So
Yeah, but at least like, I don't know, if you're not going to uh do a like continue that story on in our podcast, at least you got to like end it at some point, and I don't know, start another podcast, or just like throw these episodes in every once in a while and just keep going, but just not, don't spread it out too much, because it's just interesting.
cool. Yeah, in my mind, that story kind of ends
Excuse
in all of the post-cancer, um, what do I call it? I guess changes that I experienced and this different mindset that I have now, which I guess I don't know exactly how to put that into words yet. And that's part of what writing helps me do, is to understand what was the transformation that happened, because I feel what I experienced and was expressing through a lot of that story was that, in my, say post high school um, to the pandemic time, was just a lot of go, 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 go. Um, yeah, just like unsustainable hustle forward all the time. And it's been amazing how much more open the world seems now
me. Oh yeah.
after that. And so I don't know how that's going to tie in exactly in a story sense yet, but it's fun to know that's kind of the general arc,
Hmm.
because I definitely feel I've changed so much of my lifestyle and focus. And it's become a lot less about what can I, um, prove to the world, and more about what can I sustain for myself, which
Yeah.
is an interesting shift that I don't know many people experience in their lifetimes.
Yeah. Well, me personally, like, I kind of just live in my own little world, and as far as that ripples is as far as I'll go. And that means whatever I can do simply to make my life better ripples out to help a little bit in the world, but I'm not focusing on the world outside of my own little kind of bubble, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because then you're just like being really, like, you're just stressing yourself out a bit too much. Control what you can control within your own world, and that will do some good.
absolutely. Yeah. And I agree with that. Um, or what would I say? I would agree that that has been the shift I've experienced. Like, whatever's happening in the world, I'm still very interested in and aware of, but it doesn't emotionally affect me that much. I see these facts of, okay, these people did that, that thing's happening there. Great. And it's given me a greater appreciation for, okay, in my day-to-day life is still this.
Mhm.
So what can I do to sustain that? Because I can't live anyone else's life.
Mhm.
I can't fix all of their problems. I can't fix all of the world's problems.
Mhm.
All I can do is be the best example of how I think, or not even how I think, just how I know to live.
Yeah.
Like I think once you get into that I think realm, I believe that you're deviating from who you are. You're
Mhm.
not following exactly who you are. You're doing things that you believe other people will
Mhm.
respect and value, and you're not doing it because you enjoy it and you want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, yeah, been a cool shift.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And though today's episode, we're not talking entirely about that.
No.
But thank you. That's a little thing. And if you haven't listened to that previous episode, you can go back to listen to episode 72. I kind of give the rundown of my life up until, what would I say, age 30, 31, something in there.
Yeah, I think
I think it's 30.
you
I was
ended
29. I
yeah,
wasn't
you
even 30.
yeah, you ended around the time where, like, you were getting, you'd gone to the doctor.
Yeah, going for that first blood draw and the
Yeah.
EK or ECG, EK, whatever the heart monitor thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I must say, I want to really quickly say that I'm very proud of how I handled that whole fax scenario, though.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that was so impressive. How fucking dumb though, too, that you even
So
had to.
dumb. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I I really hate when um like things you know you should do get bogged down in those kind of petty semantics.
Mhm.
I'm like, come on. Like those are the kinds of things that annoy me the most.
Mhm.
I'm like, I have the order right here. They're like, we need to receipt it in this specific way.
Yeah.
Fucking okay, here you go.
Yeah,
Well,
I know. So, like, earlier in the year, I found a lump in my breast, and I was like, "Why can't I just call up the, ultrasound people and be like, 'Hey, I have a lump. Can you ultrasound it and check it?'" And they're like, "No, you have to go to the doctor. The doctor has to check it. They have to recommend you to go get an ultrasound and blah, 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 blah." So, it's like,
yeah,
"Why can't I just come straight to you? Fuck you."
it's dumb. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure there's a reason somewhere, but the user experience, like on our end as someone who needs access to healthcare is very confusing, very convoluted, and it's bogged down in bureaucratic tape that I don't ever understand.
Yeah. And then they can't give you the results, whether it's good or bad. You have to go back to that doctor that you went and saw, and then you have to go in to talk about it, even if it's, not, even if everything's all good. And then they're like, "Yeah, you're good, go." So you're waiting for an hour to get in to talk about that for a minute. And then I just hate it. I just hate it.
Yeah. I will say though, there are certain things that they can share with you because there are a lot of my blood draws and other kinds of tests that were done. Like I never got any imaging results, that's for sure. I don't have copies of that. But like I could get copies of all of my blood draws. I could get copies of the EKG, ECG, and I would just highly encourage people to begin saving those and filing them away for yourself because I've saved every single report that I got throughout that entire experience. Just, because along the way, who knows what happens? And maybe someone else might need them, who knows? Or in the future, it might become relevant, because I'd had a cool experience with upping my white blood cell counts. And I really love that I also have the blood draws that are like dated and
Yeah.
officiated and show those numbers. And so I have some data to back up some of these health claims that I make around that experience.
Hmm.
And it feels really empowering. I think it's good that people like take responsibility and command of your health.
Oh, that reminds
Like,
me. I had read something on the internet, that had said, oh, I'm gonna butcher it because I never remember anything. But basically, the guy was like, he went to the doctor and he asked for the doctor to put the results of whatever on his chart. Because I guess if you don't request something, they can just,
Mm,
give you a prescription and tell you to fuck off kind of thing. So
gotcha.
in him asking, I want this on my chart, it put them to actual work to make sure that these things were documented. And I thought that was I thought that was smart, but also silly that he even had to do that.
Yeah. But we're living in a silly time that way. And that's why I encourage people to really take command and to ask questions and to, look at your results, find a way to learn to understand them. Uh,
Hmm.
y- I recognize I have a different I have a different understanding of those things because my mother and my brother were both in healthcare. So through proxy with them, I've learned some things and like I have conversations with them about my health. So I have this interactive experience with knowledgeable healthcare people. Um, but I want to say my experience has held true of those who are not my relatives as well. Like when I ask questions of
Hmm.
my physician or oncologist, I get answers.
Hmm.
And the more that I ask these interesting questions, the more useful information I get.
Totally.
Like I say with that white blood cell one, if I had never asked that oncologist, hey, what can I do? How can I improve my diet? How can I whatever? Like he wouldn't have told me that at all.
Yeah, that's
And
so dumb. What just a great piece of advice that like does you
and it's such a
I
basic
don't get it.
question, like, because I had no understanding of what I would need to do. But I I come from a standpoint of this is my body and it's my health.
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask questions. Is there something I can do? Because
Yeah.
I directly control everything that happens to this body. So
Yeah.
what can I do, doctor?
Eat broccoli.
For that one.
Eat your broccoli.
Yeah. I mean, it's generally good advice, but yeah, and if something sounds fishy, ask a second opinion, but also like don't doubt people entirely because I think all of us in this day and age have very complicated responsibilities and roles because not only are we beholden to doing the right thing for whatever our job is in whatever industry we're working in, but there's also the reality of the business.
Mhm.
And some decision might cost the business, some decision might make the business money. And I think the only way that's good or bad is just looking at the scenario of what decision was made and what was the outcome. Was that outcome positive or negative for the person? Did their health improve or decline? And like, if you detach the emotion from that, I think it allows you to make a lot better objective observations, decisions, and do some easy stuff like add a little greens to your diet in the day.
Yeah.
Boom. Anyhow, health rants are over.
Nice.
um, yeah. So today we wanted to talk about games
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we've got some new games.
Yeah.
We love games,
Yeah.
both video and like,
Board
yeah, well,
games.
and cards and
Oh,
dice
yeah,
and
all
like,
sorts of games.
yeah.
Well, I'm taking a break from Tears of the Kingdom, which is the newest Zelda game, because it's incredibly massive, and I'm getting a little bit bored of it, to be honest. Because like I like to collect things, but there's a lot of running around. That means there's a lot of running around, and there's like three levels, as I mean, like there's a sky map, a surface map, and then the depths map. And so it's just a lot, and I'm just kind of getting bored of it.
Mm.
So I haven't played it for over a week. But another game just came out recently, and it's called Super Mario RPG, the remake for the Switch. Now, for those of you that don't know, Super Mario RPG, the original, came out on Super Nintendo in 1996.
And I was gonna say that I had no idea this game existed.
Yeah, but you aren't. You're not really a gamer. You're
No.
not really a gamer. But this was one of our favorite games in my household on the Super Nintendo, and um, it's hard to find those original cartridges at um, your what do you call those uh game stores?
Like a GameStop.
No, you can't
or
you can't get games like that from like GameStop or EB Games or anything. You have to go to like a not a pawn shop, but like kind of like a game thrift
yeah.
store.
Well, we found one here in Calgary where we got the
I just don't know what you call
Rockstar or the
those.
Rock Band
Yeah,
games
I
and
don't know what
stuff.
you call those stores, but it's like a thrifting game store. That's where you get all your old school stuff that you can't buy anymore. And that I'm sure if you bought it, it'd be $100 anyways. But my brother has our original one on the Super Nintendo because he collects all that stuff.
No way, he's got the original cartridge.
Yeah, yeah, I told you that. Joseph's got it
I forgot if
um,
sorry, I
in his
forgot.
collection. Yeah, I
That's
think it's even
amazing.
in the box still. Well, I mean, we
Wow.
played it, but he's got the
Y
box, I think. But
yeah.
so, but it's one that we've always wanted to play. Colton had put the game emulator on my phone once, which means you could play like old Super Nintendos, but on your phone. You can't control anything really well because it's a screen, touch screen.
Yeah.
It gets fucked up. So,
That tactile experience is important for Nintendo.
yeah. So, anyways, they just came out with the remake, I guess, where it's um, m- enhanced all the
Better graphics.
graphics. Yeah,
Yeah.
the way that you move around. They added a couple fun things. So well, I've been playing that. We started it together, but then I've just played like I've played it. But it's really easy. You just spend most of the time fighting people. Um,
And
but
but the
the
fights are in the, like, here, select an attack, make it or like Pokemon. Reminds
yeah,
me of the Pokemon
it's
games. It's that kind of fight.
it's turn based.
That's the word.
Um like strategy kind of thing. Um but it's awesome. It's so nostalgic. And I think it's so cool. It's so much fun. But I'm 10 hours in. I need two more stars and I'm almost done. Like, but it's awesome to take a break from that huge world yeah, like huge open world adventure type game. And even though this is adventure type, it's a little bit more controlled. Um, so yeah, we've been playing that. That's been fun. Well, I've been playing that. Sorry, that's been
Yeah,
fun.
because I have been playing the SpongeBob cooking
Well,
game.
hold on. We just started that yesterday, but we did buy it for you. I bought it for you because I'm like, oh, you know, I'm buying this game. I'm spending $80 on this game for me. Is there anything? Because there's deals on right now. It's Christmas time. Is there anything that you're interested in? Because I don't know. I like the idea of you jumping in and playing some games because I feel like I do so much now. Like I'm just like in the game world. I think it also is right now because of how shitty. Well, the weather's hasn't been too bad, but just that kind of like hermiting stage in our lives makes me want to just sit on the couch and play games all the time.
Yeah,
But tell
absolutely.
us about it's called SpongeBob Krusty's Cook Off or
I'm
something.
glad you remembered because I did not.
I looked it up.
The only thing I remember was this is the extra crusty edition, which makes me laugh and cringe at the same
Extra
time.
crusty edition?
Yeah,
Is that what it said?
yeah.
Whoa.
I have no idea.
Why? We don't
I
know
don't
why.
really know. I'm sure someone out there could explain it. But the idea is so it starts off with Mr. Krabs has opened a like pancake and coffee stand in front of SpongeBob and Squidward's house to make some extra coin. So you have to, it's just a basic cooking game, right? Like push a button to put the batter on the griddle, push a button to put the finished pancakes onto plates, add the toppings that the customers want. And then there's coffees if they want those. And you have to just fulfill the orders and a certain amount of time to make a certain amount of money, or you had other goals like don't
Yeah.
burn your food or don't lose any customers or gain more thumbs up or something. Like the goals change around a lot, which is really fun. And then of course it just gets faster and more intense throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. And you can
And
buy things to upgrade stuff and that earns you more clams and uh
yeah,
and
more
then
clams.
also for me because I like 100%, I always want that. I want to buy everything because just to like knock it off
Yeah.
the list.
But it's fun. I enjoy those kind of games because they force you to what's the word that I'm thinking of here? Like it's high pressure, high intensity, or at least how I feel it. but at the same time, you find this zen flow of like,
Mhm.
oh, another like pink syrup with the toppings, another
Yeah.
whatever the purple topping with the pancakes, and you just find this flow, and it reminds me of the actual act of like cooking, like what I forget what you call it, but like just cooking on demand for people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you have to have a system that moves you through an action, efficiently,
Yeah.
with good quality, like with anything. But, um I forgot what I was gonna say. Anyways, how long do you think we played yesterday? Because we just started it yesterday, and we finished the pancake stand with at 100%.
Let's put that on the record again at 100%.
100% completed. We don't ever have to make pancakes again. That's the thing. It's like I hate having to go back if I don't have to, you know?
Yeah. What do we do? I think like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that.
Yeah,
That's what
we
it
were
feels
on a
like.
roll, and we were just taking turns, like,
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, you definitely have to have hand-eye coordination, and once you figure out the buttons, you shouldn't have to really think too much about them. But
But
yeah.
my brain still farted a
Oh,
lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it
I would have
doesn't
these
help if
moments where I'm like, "What button is that?" And I'm sitting there for what seems like eternity, and then you're like, "Oh, right, it's that button."
I'm trying so, so hard while you're playing not to be like, that person is about to run, like, go, you were, dude, he's missing his coffee. Just fucking give him his coffee. Like, you're gonna lose a sale. Well, I don't
Oh,
want to
man.
control. I don't want
Yeah.
to control it. You have to learn how to see everything, and you're not much a gamer like I am. So I know it. I need to like. I need to rein it in.
Yeah. But there are moments like those were few and far and those were few and far between
For sure, you
because
did
I
a really good
did
job,
have a
actually.
lot of finding the flow moments, and so I found it really funny, and I appreciated that patience because in those moments, that's literally what I need is just everyone to stare at me with their eyes bulging to be like, "Come on, dude," and I go, "Right, it's this," and then, like, the flow starts again.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was actually really impressed because, yeah, like I said, you're not much of a gamer, and sometimes it takes you a little bit.
For sure, for sure,
But
but I find it fun because it's the way I approach cooking in life. Like in my mind when I'm making things and I got, one thing going in the air fryer, something else is in the oven. I gotta like boil something else on the stove while frying something. And I honestly love that challenge and just bouncing between things and checking and deciding when to start stuff because this other thing is going to take a little bit longer. So I'm going to put that in first. And then I'm going to come over here and prep this thing to throw it in there. And that thing's going to start heating up so that by the time the other thing starts to get done, I can throw the garlic into the pan with the oil and blah, 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 like whatever it is I'm doing. Like,
yeah. Well, you're much better at that actual cooking, uh,
things.
uh, in the exact way you just said than I am because I always fuck up. I'm like, I put too many noodles in because I thought there wasn't enough noodles. But then it's like every time I do the exact same thing, I look at it like, oh, we probably need more noodles. Oh, now we have not enough broth or something like,
Yeah.
or just like prepping things to be ready at the right time. I can't do that, or I find it difficult at least when
It's
actually
challenging
cooking.
for sure. I don't always nail it, but I enjoy the challenge. Like, it's fun to, um, yeah, just try to cook in a way where you bring everything together at once and deliver it as if someone had ordered a meal.
Yeah, that's hard.
It can be, but I don't know, with some practice, it becomes pretty easy, a little more straightforward. It's challenging when you have a new recipe. But
Yeah,
for me, like with pizzas and stuff, or what's another thing? Oh, yeah, even like the eggs Benny that we make, or some other things that are a little complicated, that have multiple parts going on because you're making the hollandaise, making the, um, what do you call that when you boil the egg in the water?
poached.
Poached eggs, yeah, and the toast and the bacon and all that. Like, it's such a fun thing to do, like, I'm gonna make all of these components and then deliver us a breakfast on time, like,
And
everything ready at
the
once,
nice
and
thing is when you're really cooking, um, there's less of a chance that you're gonna burn shit. But when you're game cooking, things are going fast.
I
You gotta
don't think
pull
we
those.
burned anything though.
No, I know,
Yeah,
but it's
we did
early.
good.
We've only finished one station.
Yep.
Now we're in our next station is actually at the Krusty Krab, and we're gonna make some
Krabby Patties.
Krabby Patties. I was gonna say they're not
Let
burgers.
me jump in there. Um, I would say that the second favorite part of that whole game for me was
Let's go for this.
just
Okay, yeah, tell us.
there's little cutscenes, but they're just like goofy animations with text written across the bottom of the screen for what the character is saying. And so when those would come up, then we would start acting them out in character. SpongeBob comes up and he's like, "Hey, Mr. Krabs." "Hey, me boy."
You're really good at those. Now, yeah, I gotta do Patrick and Squidward.
Patrick. "Hey, SpongeBob. Can I have pancakes?"
I won the jellyfishing contest.
Yeah.
I won $100.
Then Squidward, "What? That contest was fake."
Those are so hard. That's fun though. That was really fun.
I loved playing it out. It was a fun way to like get into that world,
Yeah, and I
you
think it was
know?
only a $7 game or something too, which was
It,
totally worth it. Totally worth it.
it's so worth it. I would have happily paid 14 even.
Ah,
Maybe even 20. Like
yeah.
I don't know, but I have such a soft spot for SpongeBob
Yeah, that
because like
is
when you talk about the Nintendo games of your years or your childhood years, like to me SpongeBob was so much of the I don't know, most of what I remember in my childhood for looking at screens because we didn't have a lot of TV. But oh my god! But I only know like seasons 1 to 4 or something. Not even like I didn't watch anything beyond that.
Yeah, well,
But
when shows go on forever, we outgrow them.
exactly,
So,
I remember there were some later ones because my best friend Max in high school had a younger brother who was oh my gosh, I want to say he was like between 4 to 7 or something like that during our high school years. And he loved SpongeBob. So he was watching a lot of the newer ones. And anytime I would go over to their house and we'd be hanging out, he'd be watching these newer SpongeBobs. And I remember just looking at that feeling like, this show is different. Like,
yeah.
it's changed.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And
just gotta go with
whatever.
the
Like,
times.
I didn't follow it, but I love that character. And then, oh, I don't know if I've told you this ever, though. So, my middle name, Timothy, named after our family friend Tim Roos, who was born with spina bifida. So he was paralyzed from the waist down because there was a gap in his spine from birth, like just always lived that way. And he absolutely loved SpongeBob.
Oh,
And I think that helps
that's
to
cool. Yeah,
compound that love
yeah.
over my later years because Tim loved SpongeBob. And he's my mom's age.
Mhm.
Well, mom and dad's age. They met in college at the same, like when they were all in college together. So it I think it was cool seeing someone who's my parents' age who loved something that I loved and that my brother loved. And it
Yeah.
just makes you realize you can love anything and everything
At any
at
age.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Kid show doesn't matter. You can love it as an adult.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
We like
there's
what
good
we like,
lessons
whatever
there.
brings us joy. Like,
Because SpongeBob's always so stoked. I think that's what I love about him. Like he's a,
ah!
but like life is always good with him,
True.
right? And like he's a fry chef, and he works with the grumpiest fucking squid
He's a
in all of
sponge.
Bikini Bottom.
He's a sponge at the bottom of the ocean. This is what happens. Don't use sponges.
And his best friend is like a mentally handicapped starfish.
Starfish.
And yet life is awesome.
Yeah.
And then he's got his crazy friend Sandy Cheeks from the
Yes.
surface who's into like kung fu and all of this. She is just like in charge. Like it's such a fun cast of characters. You got the greedy boss, Mr. Krabs, never
With
losing a
his
penny.
whale daughter.
Yeah. How'd that happen? Let's ask. A crab
No, we don't want to know.
mates with something and produce a whale?
Or she's adopted stepdaughter.
Maybe.
SpongeBob is one of
But
those shows that for me, I watched when there was nothing else to watch.
Oh, man.
So I don't have the same kind of love,
Mhm.
but I appreciate when somebody loves something so much like that. So,
Yeah. And that's similar to how you make me feel with a lot of the Mario and even Zelda, like, even games I
Zelda
never played.
games.
I can I can feel your love and nostalgia for them, and it makes me happy. It makes me more endeared to those games because now I have a personal connection.
I appreciate that too because I know that I mean, it could tear people apart too. If you think about how often one person is doing this one thing, um, but so I do appreciate that because sometimes I can get in that hole, and I like eat, sleep, poop, dream games for
Yeah.
a while there. Like,
We all have
um,
our things.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We still have to have our individual passions, even as couples or as coworkers or what, like, we always have to leave that room to just get lost in the things that we love for
Yeah.
hours at a
Well, and
time.
if you think about how we want to be together forever, that's like blips in time.
Absolutely. There was a fun quote from Jordan Peterson, actually, where he was talking about a marker that he believes is a, a very important marker for determining the success of a long-term relationship.
Oh,
And
tell
this
us.
yeah, so this measure was if you spend 90 minutes a week as a couple just talking about life and how you're feeling and the things that you want to do and what you're enjoying and going forward. He's like, that's like all it takes.
90 minutes a week?
Yeah, hour and a
That's
half.
no time at all. One in a
So small.
week?
Yeah,
Whoa,
per week.
that's crazy.
And I got to thinking about that with how much we both just spend time together around the house, also record this podcast, go out and like I was just thinking about the time that we spend talking about our lives together, whether it's individual or the actual our actual life together.
Mhm.
Like we crushed that. It was like we easily surpassed that. And I was like, man, that feels really good
It
to
makes me
know that
wonder.
like yeah, and it gave me so much more freedom around these individual things that we want to do. Like when you're gaming and you want to just get lost in games for hours, I'm like, go for it. We have all the time in the week. Like
Yeah.
that's all it takes, hour and a half in a week. But also at the same time, I couldn't imagine talking to you less than that
Well,
in a
yeah.
week. Like,
I guess I can kind of understand that if I think about past relationships, but I don't understand that now.
exactly.
I don't understand how people don't talk more or like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
But I mean,
fucking
like,
crazy.
yeah, just to like literally not talk that much to your partner.
And that doesn't mean arguing or yelling or anything.
Yeah, no,
Because I think a lot of people
that
do a
goes
lot of that.
yeah, that goes without saying. It's got to be constructive, um, positive, affirming. I mean, I guess even if you are working out an argument, it's not the yelling and fighting type. It's the trying to come together and understand one another and find
Yeah.
the common ground and move forward.
Which we
That's
have
productive.
not had ever any yelling matches.
Oh,
Many arguments, but we get over them really fast because somebody always comes and says, "Hey, I'm sorry for how I acted," or whatever.
yeah. Well, they
But
feel like
it's
sorry.
always like well, for me, for myself, it never has to do I can't say never, but for the majority, it's usually nothing that you've ever done. It's how I'm feeling about something
Yeah.
else
And that's
that
why
I
I mean,
reject. Yeah.
yeah, when I say coming together to try to just understand where someone was coming from,
Yeah.
instead of when I think of arguing, I think arguing means not trying to understand that person. You're trying
Yeah.
to force your view or opinion or perspective or like you're trying to put your feeling on that person and have them agree with you instead of asking that person, okay, here's how I took what you said. is that what you meant? Like, and doing that hard work of working that out.
Yeah.
Anyways,
On
that was
another
yeah,
game note though, you surprised me with a board game that is also from my childhood.
I sure did.
And so I don't even know, this has been fucking like a year or two I had that on Amazon wish list.
At least a year.
Um yeah, because I don't even know how it came up, but I was like thinking of the game came up somehow, and I went to look for it, found it on Amazon, but it was like $30 or something cheap that I just was cheap about buying at the time, and I was like,
Felt
"I'll just put it
expensive.
at the wish list for now because it's not necessary." But um, you want to tell us about that one?
Yeah. So I had finally convinced myself that I should bite a bullet and buy a bunch of things to upgrade my camera. And in the process of doing that, a lot of those things were on Amazon. And so I was just buying them all through there. And then I noticed the game was it's still there on my wish list because we share the account. And I was like, fuck it. Let's buy that. It's $30. Like I'm already committed to spending, like 500 or
Yeah,
whatever. I was
yeah.
like, what's $30 when you're already committed to this? Let's tack that on there and add a nice surprise for Chantel.
It was
And
so exciting.
yeah, it was awesome. I love that kind of gifting,
Well,
just sort of out of nowhere, spur of the moment, but
yeah,
it's something like I know that you've been thinking about and that you loved, and we've already talked about it, but you've kind of forgotten because it's been so long. So when
yeah.
it suddenly shows up, it's
Occupied by
like,
other games.
yeah, exactly. And it's such a fun fucking game.
Yeah. Um, I forgot what I was gonna say,
Okay,
but go
I'll
ahead.
keep
Yeah.
going on though with the game because I'm not much of a board game
Oh,
person.
we
Like,
play a lot of board games together.
yeah, but like the board games aren't my favorite. I love a lot of the cards and the dice and sort of a
Gotcha.
chance game when
Gotcha.
there's something that has more strict rules and there's like a defined,
Instructions and yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah, it feels a little like, okay, this will be fun for a short time. Um, but this one is so fun because you play as all of these characters.
What's it called?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Let's see.
Let's start with
Okay,
the
so the game
title.
is called 13 Dead End Drive. And the whole premise is that there's this big mansion. And what's the lady's name?
Aunt Agatha.
Aunt Agatha has died.
Yes.
And she had a massive mansion with a big fortune. And everyone is gathered around to find out who gets it.
Hmm.
So you have all these different characters like the boyfriend, the maid, the cat, the cook,
The
the
chauffeur,
chauffeur,
the hairdresser.
tennis coach,
Yeah, like
or is
yeah,
that what he is? Yeah.
yep.
Um, so anyhow, there's a bunch of those characters, and then there's also a detective who's outside the house, and he's slowly making his way toward the door to figure out who the fuck murdered Aunt Agatha. Um,
If she was murdered.
if yeah, if's a good word. That makes me think of
Well, I
Hercules.
guess. Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. If,
if
if,
if it's good.
if
That's my
pain and panic. We should watch that.
we should. Those are one of my favorites. But anyhow, so what you have to do is you have to roll dice and you get to move characters around the board. And above the mantle of the fireplace is a big portrait hanging of whatever character card. And when that character's portrait is hanging above the mantle, that character can make their escape out the front door with Aunt Agatha's fortune and win the game. But along the way are many booby traps. So you can either get smashed by the night statue with an axe, or what is it? You fall down the stairs? Is that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah, fall down the stairs, or get tripped up, burned to death in the fire, or crushed by the chandelier in its pointy glass crystals, or the bookcase maybe falls over and crushes your skull.
Yeah.
I think
So
that's all, right?
yeah. So the point is at least like all of the characters get played because you're trying to be sneaky about who your character is. And the portraits change based on what you roll. So if you roll doubles, then the portrait changes and you want to move that character or whatever. You want to
Mhm.
move all the characters so you don't give yourself away, but it's a little bit obvious when you start moving one towards the door. So you have to really just play the game like game. You got to sacrifice some it's like kind of like chess there. You have to sacrifice some pieces and it's fun with two player because you get two secret cards that you don't get to actually see. So you sometimes have no idea who the fuck is what.
Yeah. Like, you might win based
Yeah.
off moving a character that you don't actually have a card for that you can see.
But the fun thing, and we might have to take a video or whatever, but the fun thing about these booby traps is we literally have to set it up on the board.
Yeah.
So when you put a character in front of that trap and you get a card that can spring it, you actually press on something and it knocks your little figure down
Mm.
and it's fun. It's so much fun.
It's so interactive. That's what
Yeah.
yeah, that's what's really fun about it. Getting to destroy characters. And then
Yeah.
you watch the slow creep of the detective coming along.
Yeah. And we played it so much that we played so many board games. We've played so many games over the years, my family, that like the board would just start to deteriorate, like
Mhm.
how often you're folding and unfolding and whatnot. So stoked to have found that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that you like it.
It's such a fun game. And I think I love it because not only can we play just the 2 of us and still have a really good time because we don't really know who each other's characters are,
Yeah.
especially with those blind characters.
Yeah.
But then you add more people, like when we played with Anthony and Paulina, and it's still even more fun because now you have no clue who anybody is, and because you can move characters that aren't yours, it's just chaos, and it's
Yeah.
so fun. You're just
And
like,
it
"I think it's this person."
yeah, I think you can play up to 6 people.
Yeah,
Like people to play. That was fun. Yeah, anyways. So yeah, I think that's all the like games that we've gotten recently.
pretty much.
So besides that, after sober October, we we've pretty much been hermiting since then. We haven't really seen a whole lot of people, done a whole lot of stuff, which has actually been really awesome. Um, not
And
saying we haven't done like anything at all, but we've been kind of hoarding our energy a little bit, kind of like deciding where we're putting a little bit here and there.
yeah, I would say let's define what we're meaning by hermiting.
Just spending more time at home, seeing less people, like saying no to a lot of invites. I'm usually the people pleaser, the like kind of want to go out and see people every once in a while type of person. That I tend to say yes to most things that people invite me to. And it's been really liberating to say no to almost everything that people have been asking us to do.
And it's a time of year when I always feel pulled in 1,000 different directions this time of year,
Hmm.
and I don't enjoy that feeling because I'm someone who's very intentional and present when I am somewhere, and that takes a lot of energy because I'm not a naturally sociable person in the sense that I don't enjoy large groups. Like, I enjoy very much one-on-one or, like, two-on-one conversation
You would
and
never know that
situations.
because, like, us other people would never know that about you because you are, you come off very confident and charming and like you do not appear like you are having any kind of social anxiety. You're really good at hiding it.
And I think that's an important distinction that you bring up, though, because I don't feel anxious about those situations. I know that I can be a, I don't know, just I can be good company,
Yeah.
but it takes a lot of energy out of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. I know going into these social events, it's going to be an energy drain.
Mhm.
And then I need to have time afterwards to have my solitude, my recovery, my purging of what, like whatever you want to call it. I think
Totally.
there's a thousand different things that people will call it, but I'm definitely that kind of person where you'll meet me at some social event. I'll be really charming and we'll have great conversation. We'll ask a lot of interesting questions and all that, but I'll need some time. Like
Yeah.
I can't be on like that
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean we haven't done some things. So really, we've been saying no to all of our friends. But I did drag you out dancing one night because I really just needed to go out. I didn't want to go out with people. I didn't want to go out and talk to people, but I wanted to go out and be in our own little bubble. And I'm really glad we did because we discovered a new place that we really liked and have to go back again. I'm stoked about that. I got complimented on my outfit and the way I looked, which is kind of exactly what I needed at the same time.
Yeah.
And now we can wait a little while before we go out again. I mean, like go out downtown because that's like you're drinking when you're out, you're spending money on Ubers and stuff. But I like that we can do that together, and I like that we can do it every once in a while.
Yeah. And it was fun going to a place that had um
Different.
different music.
It was definitely more metally, punky, but it had the like the dance music mixed DJ with like metal and punky songs, and it was actually probably the best music we've listened to going out in a while because a lot of times when we have gone out and we go to those places, those clubs, they're always playing the same kind of just noise, you know?
It feels like high school music every time we go out to like a traditional sort of club venue with electronic music.
But not really because High School Music was music. Now it's just noise because it's not there's barely any, like, actual lyric or anything, you know? It's
Yeah,
just
that part's
sounds.
true. And I think I mean it from the standpoint of um it's yeah, again, it's music that doesn't have much variety to it. You know, because I think of how often the DJ has to change the song because so many of the songs are just the same rhythm with the
Yeah,
same general message, the same chorus. There's not really verses that are interesting. There's not much variation that holds interest. There's just a couple good things, and so it feels like a big mashup mix.
yeah, it gets
Not
boring.
yeah, it's not like let's go listen to a full song and let's hear something that people are, physically playing on a keyboard that has variations.
Mhm.
So like you would make a melody and then you'll make a little variation on that melody and then a little answer to that variation and like musically that has a lot much more interest as a
Yeah,
listener and a dancer even.
yeah. Well, and, what I also appreciated about this venue, was well, it was the Dickens Pub.
I was going to say,
So
do
it
you remember the
had
name?
yeah, Dickens Pub, and you went downstairs, and, like, half of it was, like, a seating. I think they do serve some food there, and then there's pool tables in the back, and then on the other side, there's a dance floor with a DJ booth, and so you kinda get a little bit of everything, and then the way that people dress is eclectic and so like such like cool style and personal, a little bit dark, a little bit like out there. And I love that. I feel like you get that from Twisted, which is the gay bar or whatever, LGBTQI bar. But at other places, people are just dressing generically, like boring as fuck. So this was fun. I just thought it was so much fun.
Absolutely. And I loved the look of everybody. It was one of
Yeah.
the most inclusive feeling spaces.
Yeah. And there were people of all ages.
Mhm.
And I like that as well.
Yeah. So are people who are my parents' age or older, and then there's us in our age group,
And then a
and
little
then
bit
there's younger.
younger.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
everyone is across this like, there's a bunch of people in the sort of goth emo dress look. There are people who are very just generic.
There was a group of women that were all dressed in like uh, I think it had to do with like a Christmas sweater or something. Like there
Yeah.
were a bunch of women in like red sweaters.
Yeah.
So funny, so random. I don't remember what they said, but I think that was Christmassy or something.
Yeah, and the bar staff were amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
friendly, they remembered our drinks even though we were, there for the first time for a few hours.
yeah,
Like, yeah, quick service, everyone's just chill,
yeah. I want to
into
go
the
there again
music.
for sure.
Yeah, it was the perfect kind of venue, um, that, like, I feel that encapsulates a lot of what I want when I go out. Because so many places seem to demand that you are high energy and you like jump into this crowd and you have this knowledge of here's what the dances are, here's what the words are, and then there's
Hmm.
going to be some kind of a like twerk competition or a like,
You're going
special
crazy.
shot thing. I don't like that's what it seems to be that people do to hype up those kinds of venues, right? And this one felt like here's some good music.
Yeah, just come and enjoy yourself. I really like the fact that there's just like the seating on the other side, the like pup side, and the pool tables in the back, so you can always go and chill, or you can go and be in the middle of the dance floor. I really like that.
And the music was well balanced and mixed
Oh
because I
yeah,
never felt like I couldn't understand you. We could talk
yeah.
clearly,
So
but you could still feel the bass and the movement of the
yeah,
music. Like,
that DJ particularly had a good range of eras as well. You know, you got
yeah,
your 80s, 90s, 2000s kind of thing, and like it was good.
yeah. And it was all very like indie, alternative, Brit
It
pop
was everything,
stuff.
everything that anybody could want,
And he
and
put his
you
own
need
spin
that.
on it
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which was so fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to hear. I think the older I get, the more I appreciate the talent and the artistry of DJs
Yeah.
because s- man, to like
Yeah.
understand how the music makes people move and link those
Oh,
songs
exactly.
together in a specific order to make people feel a certain way. Like
Yeah.
that's
And
really a
yeah.
fucking amazing talent that I think is highly underrated.
Yeah. And I do love EDM. I do love the just noise. But when I'm going out, like that's not just what unless I'm like on something, like that's and that was a time when Candace and I would go out and we'd like do MDMA and then we would dance and it would be so much fun and it was all good. And don't nobody yell at me right now. I'm just being honest. That's the type of music you listen to. But when you want to just like go out and have a like just like you want to listen to something that's recognizable as well. That's what kind of gets you excited.
Yeah. You have something to sing along to. It's something
Yeah.
that it's tied to a moment in your past
Yeah.
that was, I don't know, emotionally important or significant and
Yeah.
usually in a good way.
Yeah.
Like that's what gets you moving, right?
Yeah. So we did that and then honestly since so that was in November. We did nothing in October. We did that in November and then we've done one other event in December. So we haven't seen any friends, any family, anybody else. Just like random people. Do you want to tell us about what we did recently?
Yeah. So there's a group in Canada called Socality, and they work with the Canon Creator Lab, which is one of Canon's like I don't know artist support.
Have they worked with them before, or was this the first? Okay, so is
Yep.
it like it's always a partnership when they do social things?
Well, I guess sure.
I'm just wondering because the Socality house was the coffee house, right? That we first were introduced to that
Yeah.
company because of friends that were s- um, playing music at the coffee house.
Yeah.
So I
So
didn't
I don't.
realize they were an sorry, I didn't realize they
Mhm.
were an actual like event group.
Yeah, I think that's actually their focus, and they had the coffee shop as like a
A
way to have
venue.
a venue in town
God, yeah.
that's consistent. They've since shut down the coffee shop portion of the business and they're switching to being much more just events only at that venue. Um, but the whole idea, I liked how, what's his name?
Braden?
Scott or Braden? One
I don't
of
know.
the
Braden was the blonde guy who
yeah, either
who
Scott or Braden.
introduced.
There was the 2 of them who spoke from there, and one of them said that the whole concept was to bring your online social media, Instagram world to reality, right? Like,
Mhm.
here's all of these people who, we all love, photography or video and cameras and creativity. Let's meet up. And what they do at a lot of their meetup events is they have a cool venue and then they bring in some models and they sort of theme the whole thing around whatever the venue is. So the models are put into wardrobe, they go through hair and makeup, and there's lighting put around. And the whole idea is you spend a bunch of time just wandering around, meeting with other creatives who are behind the camera, and then interacting with the models in their various setups. And you get to shoot things. You can direct the models, or you can, shoot alongside someone else who's directing the models, or, just kind of
Well, I wanna say that,
capture the event.
for me, what I understood, the focus was not about the models.
Mhm.
They were there as like a creative outlet, like or like, section, part of the event, because what I understood from the beginning was we are so disconnected in the world, physically, but we are so connected via the internet. So how about we put that in real time and come together, test out some really cool new gear or old gear or whatever. And what you're supposed to take away from it is you need to like, well, you don't need to, but you should meet other people.
Yeah.
Um, that's the whole point. And then on top of that, you're at a really cool venue. We were at the Studio Bell, which is a museum for music. So you're not just like there for models, but you're also taking photographs of people, like the other photographers and people that were just like moving around doing things. You're taking pictures of the structure. You have a few models that are set up in like a certain scene that you can test things on. But that to me, they weren't the focus, even though we did spend a lot of time with the models.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
I liked that. I did like that. And then they had a video at the end that we didn't stay for. But that was also a big thing about it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we did it because I got to test. Well, I'm glad and I'm not glad because I got to test this cool new camera out. My camera is shit. I cannot pick it up now because it's not going to do what I want it to do. But this super cool new camera, it's
It
like
was the
5 grand and I can't afford it, but it's awesome.
it was the Canon R5 for anyone who's interested and knows
Yeah.
cameras.
And so I want to like we'll have to link our Instagrams because I took some really fucking cool photos of some people, of the models and some of the building, and we'll share that on my photography Instagram, my creative Instagram, not my model Instagram. And I'm really happy with them, like oh,
They look great.
yeah.
Yeah. And I went through that whole time. I was shooting video because I've been trying to practice more video shooting on the fly just to develop that, keen eye and awareness of what's interesting and what's relevant or I don't know, just trying to piece together random stuff in editing because video is just a different beast than photo. And I think I got some good stuff,
Oh yeah. No, no,
but
no. I think you got a lot of really good
but
stuff.
your stills I think blow all my video shots out of the water because you got some
Some of it I
amazing
feel like I
shots.
just kind of got lucky a little bit, but this is all about testing. I was testing with the camera and stuff too.
Yeah.
Um, but what I also liked was everybody was really supportive. I know we didn't really interact with too many people, but when I went to go show a model some of the photos I took, there was another photographer showing, and she's like, "Oh, you're doing really good," and I'm like, "Oh." Thank you. Like, I really like yours too. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. There's no competition. We're all there to just like support each other. We're there to get to know each other. I don't think I came out with anybody's information except the models, of course, but it really just sparked something new in me because I don't like to take portraits.
Mhm.
I don't because people are so disappointing. And not in the way that they model, it's the way that they perceive themselves, which has turned me off of it.
Mhm.
There's something different about actually taking photos of people that hobby model or model for a living because they don't care as much,
Yep.
which is so nice.
Yeah.
But it also inspired me to want to work on my modeling craft, even though it's a hobby. It inspires me to work on that as well. But also think about taking my own portrait photo, not my self portraits, but maybe come back to taking portraits one day.
Mhm. It's fun. And like
Not like normal people, though. I don't think I can do that again. I'm sorry. It's just
for
like I
sure.
get take it too hard, too badly.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those hard parts of photography when you feel you got a really awesome image of somebody and you're excited to show them and then they can't get over
An
their
arm.
appearance or
Yeah.
whatever. And you're
Yeah.
just like,
I
"Oh
hate
my
that.
god, you look how you look and you look amazing."
Yeah.
And that's what people see. And it's really disheartening
Yeah.
as a photographer and as a creative. And I think that's an important thing that the creative industries bring to the world, where it's like, stop judging yourself,
Yeah.
trust the opinion of others. And if someone else says you look great, trust it
Yep.
and believe it. And that's how, like, I think that's why the creative business is really hard for a lot of people because they can't move past that part
I
because we are
understand.
our own worst critics all
Mhm.
the time, 100%. And I think that's what a creative pursuit breaks down in you is the more you go down your creative path, the more you begin to not only understand yourself, but you appreciate yourself more because
Mhm.
I think that's almost a default mode that a lot of people are in is where it's like, I look this, or you see flaws, right?
Yeah.
We're all focused on flaw, flaw, flaw. And it's like, great. We all have them.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? Like, what looks good? Like,
Yeah.
that's what creative minds are focused on. It's like,
Yeah.
fantastic. But like, what looks good?
Yeah. So for me as an a newbie photographer trying to use my friends as models for whatever, like it threw me off of the whole experience because I struggled with that. Um but me as a model, I understand that everybody's looking at things differently. And
Hmm.
so I will like this is a collaboration. You like that photo, you do whatever the fuck you want with it. You share the shit out of it, please.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so happy that because fuck, like it's the same with anything. There are gonna be people that don't like it and people that like it. And
Yeah.
if you, as the photographer, took the photo of me and you love it, you please share it.
Yeah.
I don't have to like it, but I can respect and appreciate the fact that you like it. That makes me feel good, actually. It makes me, feel like I did something right.
Yeah. Well, and you learn something new, because maybe you wouldn't have liked it, but the other person says, "I love it because of this," and you
Yeah,
go, "Oh my gosh, I never thought of
yeah.
that." Like,
Well, I think that also comes back to the whole modeling being kind of like therapy for me
yeah,
and appreciating that other people look at you differently.
absolutely. There was a fun it reminds me of a conversation today. So I was helping a photographer who was doing a bunch of corporate headshots, and in between a lot of these headshots, we're always just swapping stories, but he was mentioning how once people started taking lots of selfies, so once camera phones came
Yeah.
out and all that, he's like, there was a huge spike in like nose jobs for plastic surgery.
Ugh.
But get it. So why? Because you have this crappy, shitty wide angle lens that it's not a high quality camera either. And you're putting it 4 inches in front of your face taking a picture. And it's like, that's not going to look good. But because people didn't understand how cameras work and lenses and that like your nose can be wider or shallower based on what the lens is
Yeah.
seeing. And so people were going around fixing their noses that weren't actually broken because they thought they were weird because they're looking at themselves through this weird fucking wide angle lens, which like I'm like that is just not what any photographer does. And
Well,
that's not even how our eyes naturally see because our eye is around like a 45 millimeter to 55
and then
or to
put on
50 millimeter
glasses or take classes
lens.
off. Like,
Yeah. And we're normally not seeing each other from like 3 feet away. We're a little farther away. So we look differently depending on where our viewer is and what lens we're looking through. And I mean, because most people don't play with cameras, they won't understand what that difference does. But your eye, like, I'm like, just physically, I'm like, go up and look at someone, stand 4 inches away from somebody and look at their face. Tell me what they look like, and then put 5 feet back
yeah.
and tell me
So
what they look
this
like.
is what I have appreciated about a lot of photographers online, um, who share those reels of the difference in depth and difference in lens, and it's insane how
Yeah.
your face can go from being super wide to narrow. And that's why we are all like, this is my good side. Like, nothing is the same. It's all depends on perception and the depth and the field and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But that's what I really love about photographers sharing that, and I think more people should see that. But at this point, fucking people are just like out there wanting to change everything about themselves. So
Yeah.
fuck you guys. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Because eh, I
You're gonna
mean,
have the same problem even if you get a nose job because of how you're gonna take your photo.
mhm,
Oh, this photo looks good, but when you look at you in real life, you look so fucked up.
exactly. And like, yeah, just exactly the point. And why I think, um, what was I saying there? You gave me like four thoughts there. Only
Photographers
one is
sharing
worth like,
reels of the depth and nose jobs and
yeah,
selfies
I guess all of
and
it.
lenses.
Yeah, all of it. Thank you. That's a good recap. Um, it's just, yeah, like understanding that you are perceived differently by different eyes, by different lenses all the time. And like, it's simply a matter of taking the time and having the patience to look through a lot of those bad images to find the like three good ones.
Yeah.
Like we had this today. There was one woman who, so my job today in this headshot job was to review what was shot with the clients and to get them to say yes, no, or maybe to everything that we shot.
Okay.
And like we had one lady today who just like, you could tell she's very uncomfortable with how she looks in general. Like she's just very insecure because everything was like, oh my God, like my hair, I should have had my hair done. Oh, my fucking makeup. I didn't sleep enough and blah, blah, blah. Like everything was just fucking wrong. And it reminded me of how much like you like that's just not how creative people look at themselves and look at the
Can
world.
I pause you for a second
Yeah.
too? Just to interject there as well. Um, we as creatives look at it differently because we can also see the potential of what we can enhance in post. And I
Yeah.
know that's not the main goal. We want to get the first shot as close to so we don't have to do as much work later. But
Yeah.
for me, because I really enjoy like fucking shit up in a photo later, like just really making it all wacky, that there's like potential that people don't see,
Hmm.
that you have to how do you convince them? So what did you do today with that one lady?
It's just like, well, what's the problem? Like the only thing you can do is dig down. But the tricky thing as a photographer, when you're digging down on what someone doesn't like about their image, when they are not creatively inclined, so they don't understand how a lens works, they don't understand what's possible in post, they don't understand these things. Like it almost ups their insecurity and you feel like you're treading into now I have to be your fucking counselor territory.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
You
for
know, where
sure.
I'm like, "Oh my god, if you have self-appearance issues, stay the fuck away from a camera." Like, just holy Christ, it's like the biggest nightmare of a shoot is
Yeah.
that kind of a person because 'cause you're like, "You don't wanna be here, and I don't wanna be shooting you because you're not gonna enjoy what I do,
Yeah, but
and
you also
you're not
have
enjoying
these.
this, but, like, it's needed or wanted." And, like, at one point, I wonder, do we just kinda, like, I wondered this with myself even because there's a lot of pictures of myself or ways that I've appeared in the past where I'm like, I don't love how I looked, but also that's how I looked.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, whatever, just get over it. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter if someone's putting that picture of me in front of my face. I'm walking around in the fucking world and everyone's fucking seeing me.
Yeah,
So whatever. And also, how many people as I walk around are coming up and saying like, "Hey, you got a big nose."
because
Like,
nobody paying attention to you
fucking
at all.
nobody. Like,
Nobody
it just
cares.
exactly. Like people are just looking at people and saying, "Oh wow, that's interesting." And actually, what you find later with a lot of those quote flaws that people like to pick on is that those are the things that are distinguishing to you. Those are the things that people remember you by. So yeah, maybe you don't like your big nose, but someone remembers, "Hey, that
Or it
with
might
the big
help
nose."
other
But
people.
also, what is that big nose attached to? How did you make them feel? What
So
was the interaction like? It's like they remember your big nose, but they fucking love you.
yeah,
So focus on that. Like
yeah,
that's just the mental cue that helps them
yeah,
remember who you are.
yeah,
And then they're like, "Oh yeah, you're you're Jack and you made me feel amazing at that thing and I love you." And you're like, "Great. So why would I hate my big nose because that person has now just come back and told me how much they love me?"
yeah. So do you try to say, well, um, this, do you kind of, if somebody's like complaining about something, do you just be like, well, like, hey, like this looks really good and what we can do, or blah, blah, blah.
I try to use the least amount of words as possible.
Okay.
And if I am talking to them, I try to use their words back at them in the most positive way that I can.
Can you give me an example? Let's talk about a big nose.
Okay, so for a big nose, I can say, my nose looks really big over here." You're like, "Okay, so what if we, try it again and we just like tilt your chin down a little and that kind of minimizes it a little bit or something?" Or like
Okay.
offer a suggestion where I'm like, "Here's something I can do to solve it." Like, I'm not going to do digital plastic surgery on
Yeah.
you because I'm not trying to lie to
No,
people.
we don't
But
want
I'm
to do
saying
that.
if
Hate
that's a
that.
concern and that's an issue, I'm like, "Well, let's move you in a way that is more flattering.
Yeah.
Let's position you in that way."
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, are you feeling really fucking anxious? Let's go do a bunch of jumping jacks and a fucking breathing routine and then put you in front of the camera. Like think beyond simply posing even cuz I'm like if you're coming in super anxious and you just have terrible energy and you're all over the place and you're making my life miserable, I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Calm down."
Yeah.
Like it's always a calm space. It's a safe space. There was a photographer I stole a sheet from that I don't have the name of her, I don't have it handy, but she basically had these rules of if you're going to work with me and you're coming into my studio, here are the rules. Like there's no self-hate, there's none of this. None of these things. And like if you break any of these rules, like shoot's over. Get out
I
of
like
here.
that. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, because
Because
I'm like
you
that's the
have
point.
to protect your space as well as the photographer and not just given to what everybody's saying. Cause like they're not going to be happy either way,
Yeah.
depending on how much they force the fact that they hate themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like um yeah, it's just this is not the space for that. I'm like, this is a space for exploring and celebrating who you are.
100%.
If you have no interest in that, get the fuck out of here.
I agree.
Like it's that basic. Cause like I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm not anything. If you have those problems, go find someone who can help you with those problems. What I do is I meet people and I find things that I like about them and I learn about how my photography or my video work can help them with what they want to do and I create that for them.
Mhm.
because it's really fucking hard to do it yourself. Like,
Mhm.
even as a photographer, I've tried, shooting myself, recording myself, and it fucking sucks. I would much rather have someone else there helping me and also giving me feedback, right? Because then I know what looks good or what doesn't, because how you feel in front of the camera is very different from how it appears.
Yeah.
And you
Oh,
have to understand that like there's a translation that happens in that process.
mhm.
And you have to work with somebody to understand that. The same, like if I want to tie it back to our health, right? You can go to the doctor, you can tell them everything that's wrong, but if you don't ask what you can do, and this doctor gives you bullshit, fucking, well, I don't know, like try this medicine and it doesn't fucking work. It's like, well, no shit, because maybe you haven't explored the issue
Yeah.
deep enough, and maybe you're not being honest enough with yourself about the issue.
Yeah. Well, I just want to, I guess, end it with that. I appreciate our creative relationship when it comes to, well, everything, but when it comes to photography, because when I started, I was taking self portraits, and yeah, I got a lot out of that. But when we work together, like it's fully a collaboration. And what I like is that, like, I might have an image in mind, and what I can do is stop and be like, "Hey, how is that looking right now?" Because I
Mhm.
don't know. You're the one that sees it. Maybe you don't know exactly what I'm thinking about. And if we can take a few shots, then I can look at that, and then I can see how I can adjust minorly, or uh, ask you to do something differently, or you can ask me to do something differently. And like, I just so totally appreciate that.
Yeah. And I appreciate that too, because that's what a creative relationship is. It's the back and forth, and it's understanding too that um I think I've found it silly in the digital world how people seem to get so hung up on every single frame. But I'm like, the point of digital was it's not film. Like each frame is so fucking cheap and it can be deleted immediately. And it like I'm like, if you take an image that you don't like, take another one.
Yeah.
It doesn't like what the fuck? It doesn't matter,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
keep going, keep pursuing, keep
Well, and
exploring.
I used to always tell people, I'm like, we're going to take a lot of really bad photos,
Totally.
but we're going to take a lot of really good photos.
Yeah.
And I thought that by saying that would help people understand that that is just the process with every photographer. But certain people don't like to hear that, because all they hear is, we're going to take a lot of bad photos.
Yeah.
So it's also getting to know who your clients are, and like who your people are and whatnot.
Absolutely. But I will say like that I think to me is one of the things that makes or allows people to thrive in a creative field. If you can tolerate a lot of bad stuff, a lot of failures, a lot of I look stupid or I look like shit, you will make it in the creative world because most of what you make sucks and it's
Yeah.
stupid and it's a bad
Yeah.
first attempt, but it like all you need is a handful of those that lead you to a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And like that's it. That's all people remember you for.
Yeah.
I think people
Oh, for
forget that
sure.
we forget the bad ones.
Yeah. But what I was thinking, if for model related, is that when the point was to get them to just relax, like, because
Mm,
when you're modeling,
yeah.
you're moving. There are going to be times when you have the photographer taking bursting photos, and you're in the middle of moving. Your eyes are going to be closed. Your mouth is going to be open. It's just natural. It's normal. And don't fucking worry about it, because those are not going to be the ones that are chosen. Okay.
Yeah. And let's not forget that honestly, people love seeing some of those goofy
And
mistake ones.
sometimes
It
they,
shows that
yeah.
humanity. It's
Yeah.
like it's not a bad thing. It's only bad if that's the only thing you put forward. But if you have a very professional, clean, amazing, personable look in all of your stuff, and then you throw a couple of bad ones here and there, and you use that exact caption of like, hey, I know I look so great in all of these, but like,
That's
here's
when
what 70 to 80% of the shoot looks like is
That's when you
derp,
call
derp,
it
derp.
behind the scenes.
Yeah,
And scene.
yeah.
I'm
Cool.
done.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening to this long ass
Next time
episode.
we chat, where it's going to be just before Christmas. So if anybody wants to like reach out and share any like fun Christmas stories. We're gonna try to talk a little bit about some fun Christmas stories coming up. I'll do my best to like dig into the memory bank, but Jake is always here to pick up where I'm slacking. So
It'll be fun. Send them over to pairofdinks@gmail.com. And have an awesome day.
peace out.
Bye.